Welcome back, everyone, to theCUBE's studio here in New York Stock Exchange. Of course, is theCUBE NYSE Wired program. It's CUBE original. We've got our Palo Alto studio connecting Silicon Valley and Wall Street, technology and money, capital markets. Really, technology is the market. This is our AI Factory series where we explore the future leaders of AI and people making the news, making the technology and driving this transformational change as real world and digital come together. Justin Lopas is the co-founder and COO of Base Power, along with Zach Dell. Guys, congratulations. Just thanks for coming on. Appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is awesome.
You guys are in an area that is probably the most talked about topic that 5 years ago no one was talking about.
Yeah.
Now AI factories, the AI generations here. It's bounded by power, okay? And that's like the top line story that everyone's talking about, but power has been a crisis. Talk about what you guys are doing at your company, how it came together and the problem that you're solving.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. So Base Power is, we're based in Austin, Texas. We operate throughout the state of Texas and soon to be in other states. And what we're doing is we're building a modern version of a distributed power plant. So the way it works is we design and manufacture batteries in our factory in Austin. We then install them ourselves on single family homes. So these are the size of roughly an air conditioning unit you'd see on the side of a single family home. And then we continue to own and operate those batteries, and we use them to support the grid when the grid's up and running by adding capacity, charging when there's abundant energy, discharging when there's a shortage. And then we also sell power to customers in one of our business segments, and the other, we partner with utilities where we offer the batteries as capacity to those utilities. So we have batteries throughout the grid, on the distribution grid at the edge, co-located with the load, and we think this is the most effective and the fastest way to get energy storage onto the grid. We are the fastest growing and fastest deploying battery storage developer in Texas today.
What was the idea? What was the origination story? Did it just come to you guys, hey, we can tackle this problem? Was it one of those things you saw the opportunity and said, hey, this is a gap that needs to be filled? What was the motivation? What was the inspiration?
Yeah, so maybe a little bit of quick personal history as this leads in and how I met my co-founder and all that. So I'm originally from the Detroit area, and I'm a mechanical engineer by background. Was at SpaceX and Anduril, defense technology company before, and really focused on both of those companies. In particular, Anduril is disrupting an existing industry that's dominated by legacy players. And what my co-founder Zach and I saw is the interest and ability for us to do something similar in the energy space. Zach was looking at investing in batteries. He was on the finance and investing side. At Thrive Capital, I was at Anduril, leading manufacturing for them, and we had met when Anduril was raising capital and Thrive was participating. And he had this interest in batteries, I had this interest in manufacturing. We were both interested in the grid and energy and utilities and kind of how the whole system works. And we iterated back and forth on this idea for many months before we both decided to quit our jobs and start the company. We just think that there's a really big opportunity here, and this was before energy became cool again. This was a handful of years ago, 3 years ago, and now energy is dominating the conversation, as you mentioned. Yeah. I think the conversation really, though, has been dominated by generation, making the electricity, making the electron, so to speak, but really is not focused enough on delivering the electron. Yeah. And what really matters at the end of the day for an AI, data center factory, an EV, any user of electricity is delivering that electricity, and the costs and all of the challenges in delivering the electricity is really what we're focused on.
It's interesting how, I love the entrepreneurial story because I think it points to opportunity recognition, but also how things get done. Anduril and SpaceX, talk about disrupting legacy businesses.
Yeah.
SpaceX to NASA, Anduril to in the defense area. There is so much legacy in power. Talk about that. How did you guys think about that when you looked at putting it together? Okay, you come together, let's go after this opportunity. It's some technical problems to solve. You have a legacy installed base, you got the grid, you got homes. What was the approach? What was the secret sauce? What made it work for you guys?
Yeah, so we looked at this really from a technology perspective first and foremost. All right, like I said, as my background's in engineering, and we wanted to build a company that built technology and operations to then support the existing companies and infrastructure that operate the grid, the utilities today. And what we really focused on was, look, there's a really long queue, it's called the interconnection queue, to get basically plugged into the grid, so to speak, for either a load, like a data center, or a generator, like a nuclear power plant or a solar farm or whatever. And all of that happens in these very large scales.
Yeah.
For batteries, it's typically think, tens of shipping containers in some farmland somewhere in, the middle of nowhere, where batteries get plugged into the grid. These take many, many years. But when you get them plugged in and turned on, you have hundreds of megawatts, available. What we identified was a sort of gap in the market, which is there's a lot of interconnection capacity. It's just in small pieces at the edge of the grid. It's on homes, it's on small businesses. And so that's really the technology we're building is a high quantity of small systems, in this case batteries, energy storage systems, that are plugged into the edge of the grid, co-located with the load, such that you can both affect demand and supply. And you don't have to wait in these long queues to get plugged into the grid and build a bunch of new grid to get energy in and out of the battery in that sort of shipping container battery
Scope the
size.
scale of this, because I was just at Mobile World Congress, MWC they call it now, and I looked at the network maps of Verizon and AT&T wireless, and there's like so much capacity being wasted.
Yes.
Some people call it dormant energy, abandoned energy, whatever term you use, but essentially if you aggregate all that energy up, they're sitting on like 200,000 GPU potential power opportunity.
Yeah.
That would have been a monster data center, would have taken billions to build. And so if they retrofit that, they now have a distributed collection. So the next question, how do you move it? So that brings me up to the whole distributed energy piece, because you got homes, there's businesses, so essentially it's a distributed architecture.
That's right.
And the delivery seems to be the secret sauce for you guys. Explain that for folks, because this is, some people can't really grok the system aspect of this.
Yeah. If you go walk around any neighborhood in America, you see typically above ground poles and wires. And if you look at any given wire on either the transmission grid, think the like large scale running next to the highway kind of grid, or the pole near your house, that wire is on average used under 50% of its capacity. So if you're not home and you're at work, your home is running between 1 and 5 kilowatts typically. These are just numbers to kind of give you some sense. However, that home has a capacity of 20, 30, or 40 kilowatts to be pulled from the grid. So the wire between your home and the transformer, between that transformer and the substation, and between that substation and others, is heavily underutilized. However, what really matters is peak capacity. So really the only thing that truly matters to sizing the grid is when everyone comes home at 5 p.m., plugs in their EV, turns on their oven and air conditioner. Now everybody's pulling that 10, 20, 30 kilowatts. So the grid is built for peak, but for the most part, peak doesn't happen. Peak happens 1 second every year by definition. And so what we do with a network of distributed batteries is we're able to shave the peaks down and increase the valleys.
Yeah.
So if you look at a graph of demand throughout a day, you have a high point and a low point. We reduce the high and we increase the low, such that the utilization of the existing system, that sort of stranded capacity on the grid, so to speak, is utilized. Like I said, we have more of a deliverability, more of a grid infrastructure problem than we do a total generation problem.
So it's a delivery problem. That's the core focus.
And that's our core focus.
Yeah.
Not to say that generation is not important. We need a lot more of it. We need it closer to where it is being used. But really our core focus today as a company is the deliverability problem.
I just put out a research report for MWC, just flew in last night from Barcelona, called the Hyperconverged Edge. And one of the thesis is that if you have AI intelligence in the network, you then can do different things. You're kind of going down that same path. So I have to ask you, and not to conjure up NVIDIA again, but NVIDIA has been saying for over a decade, we're not in the hardware business, we're in the software business. And people are like, what do you mean? You sell GPUs. Of course they sell chips. But they bet on CUDA, they bet on software, but it was always the system.
That's right.
Take us through your thoughts, because what I see here is that you guys are saying, hey, let's knock down the physical plant, AKA the home. Let's use the batteries as either an offload storage, intelligent node.
Right.
Take us through kind of how you would think about this from a software architecture standpoint, because what you're doing is essentially giving the grid relief.
That's right.
But then power using intelligence, I'm imagining software to route, change, shift, manage peak loads, heat waves. Is that right?
That's right. That's right. A large portion of our technology stack, outside of the the physical nature of the battery and the power electronics and the interconnection and such, is the software. So we have a whole software team that has built a whole stack of software that manages the distributed nature of the fleet. This is actually not an easy problem, an easy technical problem to solve. We've got tens of thousands of batteries on the grid, and we need to have an understanding of what they're doing at all times, be able to command and control them, and to do it with high reliability. Yeah. This is, maybe sounds easier than it actually is, and we've built a whole software stack to do that. And so this allows us for the batteries that we own, so we operate in both the deregulated and regulated markets. In the deregulated markets where we own and control the batteries, we're able to control one battery, we're able to control a small subset of batteries, we're able to control a substation's worth of batteries or all of them together, and we can locationally dispatch them. So if Houston, for example, we have a lot of batteries in Houston, needs power, we could be discharging, but Dallas is excess, we're charging. And so we can manage that whole fleet. For our regulated utility partners, they can manage it. We can control it on their behalf, or they have control over it, and they can do the same thing. They can command one battery, they can command a group, or they can command all of them. And that whole software stack really allows us to geospatially and temporally over time affect how the grid is utilized.
You're a managed power supplier.
That's right.
Basically.
That's right.
You're managing either for yourselves and or the utility, their option. So it's not like you're going out to the utility and say, hey, we're going to disrupt you, you're actually helping them.
Oh, totally. Utilities are our partners. That's right. Yeah, we have, maybe it's worth mentioning, so we have two go-to-market motions today. In the what's called deregulated market, where you can choose your power provider. This is Houston and Dallas and North Austin and other parts of Texas. We sell power, so we're a retail electric provider is what it's called, meaning that if you live in a house in Houston, you pay us for your electricity as you sign up with us with our service, and we give you a battery. You don't own the battery, we continue to own the battery, but then we control it to offset your costs and lower your electricity bill. So the benefit to the homeowner is affordable and reliable power. That's the deregulated market. Now in the regulated market, we partner with utilities. Utilities are our partners. And in those markets, we, as we just recently announced actually today with CoServ up in the Dallas area, a few weeks ago with El Paso Electric and obviously in West Texas, in those markets, the utilities either own or they contract with us for the capacity in those batteries, and then they can control the batteries through our software. So we give them tools to manage their infrastructure using our hardware, and the financial relationship is either they acquire them or that we own them and they pay us a...
so for them, it's another club in their bag, so to speak, to use a golf analogy.
That's right. That's right. It's another tool in the tool chest, another club in the bag. Exactly.
Talk about the home deployment. What's been the reaction? It's a truck roll, obviously. You got to do an installation. Yeah. What are some of the... what's been the feedback? What's the economics look like? Take us through the provisioning and installation side.
This is something that I personally and our team spends an enormous amount of time thinking about and operating around. Building a large grid scale battery, this sort of shipping container size, is a big construction project, and it's kind of a one-off thing. It's unique to that specific site. The way we've taken, the approach that we've taken, I should say, is that we think about this like a factory. We do over 100 of these things a day now. It has to be repeatable, the same every time. We have to have really good tools and training for our electricians and technicians, and we have to be very efficient in doing it. And so we've turned this deployment motion, we call it as basically a factory in the field. How do we go with our van and our electricians? We arrive at the house. How long does it take in sort of NASCAR pit stop style from leave the van to get back in the van and it's installed and ready to go?
So a lot of operational metrics.
A lot of operational.
Throughput, installation, efficiency, and of course once it gets online, there's management software.
Exactly.
Looking at everything.
And so a lot of the software that we've built, besides the software that manages their fleet of batteries, is software that enables our people in the field to do their best work, to schedule the crews, to make sure they're in the right spot, to commission or turn on and make sure the hardware works, all of that. And so this whole operation is really, honestly, I think that's a large part of what we do. Our core sort of IP is around the battery, the power electronics, and the software that manages it. And then it's also the operations to go deploy all these in the tens of thousands and the hundreds per day.
I got to ask you about the capital markets. This is a venture that's bold, relevant. I mean, technically it's cool as well. I mean, so you got, power, as everyone's talking about power. What was it like on the capital? Was the reaction like, we get it? Was there pushback? How did you guys manage that process? Obviously, you broke through. You guys got great momentum. What was it like raising money, putting this together? As you put the team together, were there naysayers? Were there skeptics? It'll never work. What was
Well, of course, there was of course naysayers and skeptics. If everyone said it was a good idea, then it probably is already too crowded of a field, right? So, yeah, I think we've been very fortunate to work with some of the best capital partners in the world through our most recent fundraise a few months ago, the Series C. We've just been very fortunate to have really great partners by our side on the capital markets. To your point, energy is now cool again. It was like less cool before when we started, and certainly even earlier than that. But it's obvious to everyone now, or most people, that energy really is the bottleneck, and the grid in particular, as we believe, is really the bottleneck to energy. The energy is the bottleneck to AI, and AI is really the big focus point now from a capital markets perspective. So, yeah, look, we've been fortunate to have great partners, and as we've built a business and we've announced more partnerships with utilities, and we've got more and more homeowners on board and expanded outside of Texas, we've been very fortunate to just have so much support.
I got to ask about the momentum. Can you share some stats on some of the recent momentum? You said you guys are growing very fast.
Yeah.
Clearly the beachhead has knocked the homes down. What's the appetite for adjacencies, business, data centers? What's the vision and go-to-market appetite?
Yeah, certainly. We're interested in expanding our product portfolio, going both upstreams or upsize, so to speak, as well as into other products in the home. Nothing to announce there in particular right now, but really today we're focused on partnering with our utility partners and being the best energy retailer that we possibly can for our homeowners in Texas and beyond, and expanding outside of Texas. We want to be an energy platform company eventually, as we grow at the end of the day. And so that's what we're building now with this distributed power plant using batteries, but certainly it's not the last product.
Are you guys exclusively in Texas right now only? Is that the focus, stay regional?
That's right. That's really the focus today is Texas. We're basically all over the state now. We're as far west as El Paso.
Nice.
We're in Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, San Antonio, et cetera.
What's been the reaction? Share some stories around either the homeowners or just some anecdotal revelations, like, are people, thank you so much for doing this. What's been the reaction?
Oh, certainly.
What surprised you the most?
Certainly. I mean, look, power is not a nice to have, it is a need to have, especially in the modern era. But look, people have kids, they have things that they're doing at their home, and they need power, and they need that power to be reliable. And unfortunately, in some cases, that power is not reliable, especially just because of storms along the Houston coast, et cetera. And so we have had countless stories of folks that would have lost power but were actually backed up by the home. And also the money that we're saving folks, they're able to go spend in other ways. We're able to lower costs for homeowners and add reliability. And so this has been, honestly, the reception from our homeowners, our members, our customers has been fantastic. And we're so thankful for.
Are you guys doing deals like on an individual home basis? Is there a bundle package? How does that work?
Yeah, so as I was mentioning, there's really two go-to-markets. So there's the direct-to-consumer deregulated market where it's home by home, and individuals either get a referral or they see an ad or they know from a neighbor and they sign up and they come to our
What's the motivation for that group? Because a power outage, air conditioning, Texas obviously gets hot.
It does get hot.
Summer, so air conditioning is always putting pressure on the grid. Is that they know the need and they're proactively motivated?
So some are. Yeah, some are. So a lot of people have frankly been priced out of the backup market, right? Backup historically has been a luxury good that is, costs what a used or new car would, tens of thousands of dollars if you're going to go buy a battery or a generator for your home. Our offering today is only a few $100s. Yeah. Right, because of this ownership model. And so folks that have been priced out of the backup market that are interested in the resiliency solution, that have been through winter or summer storms or outages, are coming to us just because they're interested. And then other folks are just looking for more affordable power, which we can also offer via this model. And then, look, what we find oftentimes is, one person in a neighborhood gets the system. They're walking around the neighborhood. It's like, oh, what's that white box that we're installing next to the house? And then the neighbors talk, and then everyone suddenly in the neighborhood
word gets out fast
is signing up.
And are they saving money, better throughput? What's the vanity metric or metric for the homeowner?
Yeah, so typically we're saving 10 to 20% on the monthly bill for the homeowner based on their what the market is at the time, and then we're also able to back them up for a day plus typically with the backup.
Well, it's been great to watch you guys. When you guys formed this, I love the vision, the mission. Congratulations on the momentum. Final question, what's the coolest thing that you guys are working on right now? If you had to share a favorite project or technology, what is the cool thing share something that's super cool that's going on.
Cool and unannounced, unfortunately, are
Okay, cool announced.
Cool and announced.
Show a little direction. You're not a public company.
No, fair enough. Yeah.
You know.
I think that one of the coolest things that we're working on today is our factory. So we've built and are now operating a facility out of the old Austin American Statesman building. This is the old printing press in downtown Austin, for those who are familiar. And we're operating a factory there where we're building batteries and power electronics. And those batteries are then going to support homeowners in the hundreds per day. And so I think that's like, at least to me, one of the coolest things.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest with you, the software, the hardware development, the installation motion, all the partnerships with utilities, the CoServ partnership that we just announced this morning, the El Paso partnership, the Guadalupe Valley Electric Co-op partnership we announced many months ago. These are all really cool too, so it's hard to pick a favorite. But
it's a lot of co-design. I mean, I think the trend that I'm seeing in this AI era where you have intelligent software is that a lot of the go-to-market engineering is co-design based, so you have a lot of stakeholders in your deal.
That's right.
And the AI Factory series we're doing is, talks a lot about data centers, but now the edge is coming online at the network. But you're at the home, that's an ultimate edge node. So, they'll be tokenized. So these are potential factory beachheads. So, the NVIDIAs of the world are going to love that, because if I'm a homeowner, I might want to have robotics in the home. I want to have everything kind of tokenized.
Yeah.
Intelligence, whether it's decentralized tokens or actually AI tokens for intelligence.
Yeah, look, our view is that AI is clearly the future, is one of the most important technologies, if not the most important technology that we here in America are building. And energy is the feedstock for AI. And we need more of it. We need and more ability to deliver it, and that's really what we're focused on.
You're enabling homes. I mean, you're solving a need now with energy. Get the cost savings, but the future is just a lot of headroom for the homeowner.
That's right.
As the AI native companies start coming online with services.
That's right.
And another revenue model kicks in.
And it's not even just AI. I mean, that's obviously the talking point today. But electrification of heating and cooling at homes is a big new draw on the grid, as well as electric vehicles. Electric vehicle will take 2 or 3 times the load of a home just overnight by getting an EV. So, anyways, there's a lot of trends that are increasing demand more than just AI.
Real world assets on chain has become one of the hottest part of our crypto series, and our other most popular show, Crypto Trailblazers. And there's some entrepreneurs out there who are putting energy on the blockchain. So if someone's really good potentially at managing their energy, they could tokenize their energy. Is that way out there? Is that
not something that we're thinking about at the moment? We'll leave that to the folks that are in the crypto industry. But no, there's so much innovation happening in this space.
It's really a great opportunity. So much ahead of you. Thanks for coming on theCUBE and sharing the story. Congratulations to you and Zach. Zach Dell, again, good friend of theCUBE. Yep. Michael Dell's been on many times, so shout out to Zach and the team. Thanks for coming on, Justin.
Great, thank you.
All right, I'm John Furrier, theCUBE. This is our AI Factory series. We explore the leaders who are making it happen in AI, and the energy is bounding all the functions. We're seeing it both on the crypto infrastructure as well as AI, but ultimately the edge, the home, the energy will enable a lot of new things and solve real world problems with the grid and delivering energy around it at a real-time basis. The software will control it. This is John Furrier, theCUBE. Thanks for watching.